Welcome back to the Motherhood Collective Co. Today we are recording an episode that is long awaited, I feel.
Yeah, it's very needed.
So like literally, because I talk about how Noah transitioned out of co-sleeping at 12 months, I think I get like literally 10 to 15 people asking me every single week how we did that. And I think that this is going to be so much easier just to tell everyone to come to this episode. So if you're here because I told you to, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
Jesse and I both did this differently. So you're going to get two perspectives, which I think is great. Also, disclaimer before we even start, at least when I'm talking about what I did for Noah. We hired a sleep consultant to specifically cater a plan to him. I won't be doing this for Lily. Because she's a different child. She's going to need something different.
Yeah.
So this is what worked for Noah. And if you find great tips in here that are helpful, great. Mm-hmm. But don't just try and copy paste it because kids are not copy paste ever.
And this is not medical advice.
Never is it medical
in quotations.
Yes.
Okay, but on a quick note, did you see that message we got from that nurse? She said she's a pediatric nurse and she had been having the hardest time with sleep for her baby.
Aww.
And she was like, I was literally not sleeping. I was becoming unwell mentally and physically because I was just never sleeping because my baby needed to sleep in a crib.
Yeah.
And she said one night she just decided to bring her baby in bed with her. And she was like, we have been sleeping seamlessly ever since. And she was like, it's this horrible thing that I don't want to tell any of my coworkers about because it could be like a point of contention.
So
and
sad.
like, you know, I just messaged her. I'm like, I'm so proud of you. You're so brave.
But
this is something even on my personal page that I've gotten so many questions about. And I used to have a highlight on my page. I deleted it, but we have a highlight on our Motherhood Collective page, and maybe we can just keep adding to that. But I feel like between the two of us, we're like a wealth of knowledge when it comes to co-sleeping because we didn't do it flippantly. We did it very intentionally and we did a lot of research, and we've come away with, I think, a lot of information that we can share.
100%.
And we'll probably still do a course at some point.
Yes.
Some kind of private course that can like dive into this stuff a lot more.
Also, I'll say if you're listening to this because you're trying to transition out of co-sleeping, which means your co-sleeping journey is coming to an end for one reason or another. I've had a lot of guilt with Lily because co-sleeping has not been like great for us. I mean, it is great. I don't want to say it's not great because I know it's what she needs. I know that she feels so safe and secure and she is having a fantastic journey. I, however, am not. I am not rested with Lily. With Noah, he like slept like a log between Brady and I. Like I didn't see him till I woke up the next day, right? Like maybe if he wasn't feeling good or he was going through a leap, maybe he ate once. Lily, on average, it's at least 5 times a night, upwards of 10. And it's not even like she wants to eat. She just wants to rub my arm or like touch my face. She just wants to know that I'm close, which is why I say I definitely will not be doing for Lily what I did for Noah because I don't know when she's going to be ready. All those things that she's doing right now tell me she's not ready to sleep independently.
Yeah.
I feel like Noah, I transitioned out at 12 months because he was so independent with sleep. While we were co-sleeping. I mean, I put him down for bed. Brady and I would be out for 2 or 3 hours. He never woke up. I came to bed. He never woke up. Literally didn't wake up till the morning. So that was an easy compromise for Brady because Brady was like dying to like not have a child in her bed. So I said, okay, at a year, I think he's ready. I don't think Lily's going to be ready at 12 months. So if you're here and you're wanting to transition out of co-sleeping, like I hope you're not feeling guilty for that because like here I am 8 months in, just like counting down the time. Like when is she going to sleep by herself? Because I'm like a walking zombie most of the time. Although last night she did only wake up once to eat.
That's good.
I needed it so bad.
Yeah.
I needed it so bad.
I know.
So I don't know. We are going through, I opened up my Wonder Weeks app and we are going through a leap. So maybe that's why it's been kind of crazy lately.
And I think because co-sleeping is so controversial, there's just not a lot of information about how to get out of it and how to and there's a lot of shame because I think the whole stigma behind co-sleeping is like, well, if you co-sleep, your child is never going to learn to sleep independently. So reaching out for help or advice on how to get your child to sleep independently after they've been co-sleeping, I think can come with this weird stigma of shame, right? Because you're like, oh, this is what everybody said. But regardless, like no child just is born and knows how to sleep independently. No, so you either choose to co-sleep or you sleep train. Like there's no really in between. So anyways, that I think there's a gap in research and knowledge surrounding this topic. But
and people are just now starting to like talk openly about co-sleeping. So I'm just like stoked to see in 5 years what the narrative is around co-sleeping. Yeah. Because I feel like intuitive mothering, I think, is becoming very popular, which why it was never not popular. Blows my mind. But it's becoming something more mainstream, more people are talking about it, especially like on Instagram within our generation.
Yeah.
And I think in 5 years, co-sleeping is going to be like, doctors aren't really concerned about it if you're doing it safely. Maybe they'll stop asking, you should put them in a bassinet. And they'll start saying, are you co-sleeping safely? And like asking you questions about safe bed sharing. You know?
And that was one of the statistics I found just astounding. It was like 85% of people who are co-sleeping with their baby did not set out to co-sleep with their baby before they were born. So that doesn't do anything other than we are just like not providing research on how to do it safely. It's going to happen. We are not ever going to be able to like rid people of wanting to do that. It's like an innate instinct for a lot of people. In most countries, that's just how they sleep. That's there's not even a word for it because it's just birth. Yeah, everybody but Americans think that is the norm. So.
And if you're like stumbling upon this episode because you just listen to us every week and you don't know much about co-sleeping, then we have is it called safe bed sharing, our episode?
I think so. Yeah,
safe bed sharing or whatever it is. You can go back and listen to that because we really break down the stats of like co-sleeping. That was like where our first viral reel came from. So I feel like a lot of people here
and probably our first bad review on our podcast, our only bad review.
Yes, because it was a little controversial.
We were like, that was probably from our bed sharing episode.
Yeah, I know. But like, if you're wanting more information on sleeping and safe co-sleeping, then go back and listen to that episode because Ledger is looking at this fan. He's so excited He's now.
Like, have you ever seen something more amazing than that?
It's a white scene.
Oh yeah.
Today we are specifically talking about transitioning out of co-sleeping. And like I said, Jesse and I have two different, not views on this because I think, there's not one view to have, but we did this differently with Noah and Sunny.
Yeah.
And we'll do it differently with Ledger and Lily. Yeah.
So a little bit about our journey with Sunny is that I don't know that I set out to bed share with her. It just happened, and it felt I think because of the trauma of our birth, it felt like what was most comfortable and safe for the both of us. It's like, let me keep my baby as close to me as possible. We slept great. Chase and I were like, why are people sleep deprived with newborns? Like you just sleep all night. And it was great. And we figured out a system. And it wasn't until we were trying for our second baby we got pregnant when Sunny was 14 months old. And had a miscarriage, got pregnant again when she was like 15 months old, had another miscarriage. And I started before we came to the conclusion of what was actually wrong, like before we figured that out, I had this weird instinct of like, what if co-sleeping and nursing overnight is affecting my hormones? Because I came across this interesting, and actually, was it you that sent me that post?
Jesse's sister's here. That's who she's talking to.
there was this post that talks about like sometimes if you co-sleep and you nurse overnight, and Sunny was nursing on demand, so she was nursing like a newborn essentially. Yeah. Your body registers that they are still a newborn, and your body is not in this like let's reproduce mode. Given that proved to be false, like we figured out the cause and we fixed it, and it wasn't that. It had nothing to do with it had nothing to do with my hormones. But I was like, what if we probably need to like wean her, at least night wean her,
which is safe to do after 12 months. If you're younger, your baby's younger than 12 months, don't do that.
And so it took us a while because I didn't start transitioning her overnight until she was 22 months. So between 14 and 22 months, I was like, okay, 22 months. We got a floor bed in Sunny's room. We completely baby proofed her room. So we anchored all dressers to the walls. We made sure there was nothing she could pull up on or take off. We put all of her toys in her playroom. So it was strictly like a safe sleep space. And we got her like a full size mattress so that one of us could be laying with her at a time. And the way that we decided to do it is I was going to nurse her to sleep, roll away. And then throughout the night, if she were to wake up, Chase was going to go in there. And I'm talking about overnight weaning and transitioning from co-sleeping kind of in tandem with one another because I think they kind of go hand in hand.
They do.
If you're nursing longer than a year, and because your baby, when they're waking up throughout the night, if they're not a brand new baby, they're looking for milk, but they don't need milk. They're looking for comfort, right? And so kind of separating the two and allowing her to wake up and see, I'm not getting milk anymore, I'm just getting dad. And she was angry for a few nights, but she still had an adult present with her, soothing her, putting her back to sleep. And then she would fall back asleep. He'd come back into our bed with us. And now she's 3 and she sleeps through the night in her bed. And if she does wake up, it's like 4:30, 5 a.m. and she comes and snuggles for a couple hours. And I honestly hope that never doesn't happen. I love that. But I think our journey was like somewhat seamless with her. I don't know what we'll do with Ledger. I don't know what's going to happen with our nursing journey. I don't know what's going to happen with co-sleeping, but
what type of toddler he's going to be, what type of like older infant he's going to be.
And right now, like co-sleeping works really well for us. Like I tuck him in right next to me. He falls asleep, and kind of how you describe Noah, I'm like, he's out. He's out. And I might feel him like wiggle here and there, but he doesn't really feed overnight. And, so it's working out well.
Working out. That's great.
So
now
the bed, I think the floor bed was probably the biggest, nursing and having Chase come in to help her instead of me.
Yes, you're really going to need a participating husband for this.
Yes. Yeah. Gosh. Yeah.
So like I said, Noah and I loved co-sleeping, could have done it forever, but he's a very light sleeper. We had a queen size bed. And Noah because he wouldn't really like attach to me at night. Sometimes he would like roll over and hit Brady and I'd wake him up, and Brady was not sleeping well. I think Brady lost 25 pounds after we had Noah.
Oh.
Did you see I shared a picture of Brady and Noah, and Brady was in a suit. And Noah was like 7 months old, and Brady was so skinny. And it like hit me when I saw that picture, because he's like probably 25, 30 pounds heavier than that now. I'm like, wow, he was really not doing well.
Was he just awake, or was he
awake? He wasn't sleeping. Tie in the fact that we were like brand new business owners, brand new parents. Yeah. There was a lot going on, but he really needed to sleep.
Okay.
So he was around 10 months old. Brady came to me with this, and I think he was feeling that for a long time, but he came to me and he told me like how bad he was struggling, how much weight he was losing. Cause I'm in my own world. I don't really care about how much weight you're losing when I look like this.
I will take the weight loss.
Yes, I know.
Like take the sleep deprivation away from me.
But anyways, we were still in our apartment. We were about to move into a house, and I just said, listen, I don't think that it's a good idea to wean him from nighttime feedings until he's 12 months old. So when he turns a year, let's hire someone and get help with it, because I didn't want to mess it up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I co-slept with my parents. I mean, I was in my mom's bed until I was like 12.
Oh.
We had my sister didn't really do that.
Wait, and you're not like chronically messed up?
No.
Wow. You sleep by yourself?
I do.
Oh my gosh.
I would literally, like, my dad didn't love it. So if my dad was in town, I slept on their floor next to Sammy, our dog.
Oh.
And then when my dad was out of town, my sister and I were in bed every weekend.
That's
so
really
like
cute.
Literally. And then even up until like I was 14, 15, before I moved out of our house, I would every Saturday morning or every morning that my mom was still in bed, I would go in and lay on her chest. You know what I mean? Like,
oh my gosh, that's precious. I hope
co-sleeping
Sunny always
to me
does
was
that with
just
me.
like the duh.
Yeah.
So anyways, around 12 months, I said we could hire someone. So when he turned a year, a few weeks afterwards, we did hire a sleep consultant, and I found somebody. She had written a book. I found somebody who talked about co-sleeping in her book, because I was like, I need somebody who's not going to judge me for this.
Yes,
because
totally.
I was still in the space where I'm like, ooh, I don't want someone to, be weird. So she came to our house, and this is the other thing I loved about hiring somebody. She came to our house. She looked at our house, like our environment. She looked at Noah's room where he would be sleeping. She had me keep a food log. So the first thing she told me to do, which I don't know if I'll do this with Lily, but it was helpful with Noah, was she had us black out his room. She had us put like electrical tape on his smoke alarm so the green light wasn't beeping. She had us put, I had construction paper on his windows, like seriously blacked out. We had to get a sound machine, which we hadn't had yet because we were just co-sleeping. And she had us like literally black out his room to make this an easy transition. And again, this is what worked for Noah. I don't know if this is what we'll do with Lily, because he was kind of dependent on the blackout, which I didn't love when we traveled. But
pack some electrical tape.
We had a slumber pod. We had the slumber pod.
Right,
so it wasn't so bad, but it was a long time before I found the slumber pod.
Right.
So it kind of sucked.
Yeah.
But she had me keep a food log, because the biggest thing is all of those nighttime calories are going to have to transition to day.
Yeah.
You can either slowly do that by first taking away night milk, and then the next day they make up the calories. But what she had me do was stack up his daytime calories. So for like a week, I kept a food log, sent it into her. She's like, okay, we need to adjust his protein levels, because kids should be eating around 60% of their body weight in grams in protein, and had me up his fat intake. So like I feel like we were just giving him avocados. We replaced all the fruit with avocados.
That explains why he was so chunky.
I know. So he had a lot of healthy fats. And then she told me, she goes, I need you just running him into the ground every day. So every day that we were doing our, I say in quotation, sleep training, because I don't really consider it sleep training.
Yeah.
But I would literally, because he's a summer baby, so he was 1 at the end of July. I had him outside from like sun up to sundown. We would hit like 3 or 4 different parks a day. Like I made him
exhausted.
Yeah. And then what she had us do, she first told me, you can't be involved in this, which I was totally thinking that I was going to be the one doing this. She said, you absolutely cannot be involved in this because he sees you, he's going to want milk.
Yeah.
That's what he's trained, rightfully so. That's what he's trained to do. So she had me stay in the room, and this is my favorite part about this, is the best 7 nights of sleep I've had in my life. Because Brady was with him. Yeah. I didn't have to worry about him. I knew he was safe.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there was no like internal alarm keeping me kind of awake. My cortisol levels were dropped, and I'm like so looking forward to that if we do anything like this again. But she had us put a mattress in Noah's room. So we had like our guest bed queen size mattress. We just stuck it on the floor in Noah's room. And Brady, she told us it would take anywhere from 7 to 14 days. It ended up taking, I think, 11 or no, not 11, like 9, maybe 10. And she said, the first night, what I want you to do is have a bottle of water, because we've already upped his protein intake for a week, right? And she said, have a bottle of water so that if he's thirsty, because he's used to having, he can have something. And then anytime he wakes up, Brady, I want you to pull him out of the crib. Not cries. We were never letting him get to a cry. So anytime he wakes up, which my husband was a light sleeper, so that worked out well, he would just pick him up, offer him the bottle. Noah never wanted the bottle, so that was fine. And then he would rock him back to sleep. Rock him, pat his back, like whatever Brady felt comfortable doing, like that he needed. And then Noah would fall back asleep. He'd set him down. The next night, we didn't offer the water, which he never took it the first night, so that like wasn't a big deal. And again, anytime Noah woke up, he would rock him back to sleep. The third night, I think it was by night 3, if Noah woke up, Brady didn't pick him up. He put his hand in the crib and would scratch his back and sing to him until he fell asleep. And again, if he ever got to a cry, Brady would have to immediately pick him up. So this was just if he woke up or stirred. Brady was like rubbing his back to get him back to sleep. By like night 4 or 5, the next step was Brady was just to use his voice to calm him. So not putting his hand in. So if Noah woke up, Brady would talk to him or sing to him until he got back to sleep. Again, if he cried, pull him out, rock him back to sleep. 100% comfort. And then eventually by like night, I think it was like night 8, it was if he wakes up, don't do anything. Just watch him and see if he puts himself back to sleep, because that's the goal here. Because babies, no matter what you do, babies have a sleep cycle just like adults, and it's developmental. It's a developmental milestone when they can link those and not wake up. At 12 months old, they're not there. They're going to wake up. So Noah would rise and he would kind of see Brady and he would fall back asleep. And Brady did that with him for 3 nights in a row where he didn't need Brady at all. And then Brady came into our room. And we never had a problem after that. And I did forget to mention, she had us start a solid like bedtime routine with Noah, which became the death of me, but it did work. So Noah, she's like, just make it 10 to 15 minutes, potty. Eventually once you start, brush his teeth. Eventually once he starts pottying, you use the restroom, you go in, you read a book, and then scratch his back or feed him. And I fed him to sleep. Every night up until he weaned. I fed him to sleep. And after he weaned, I was rocking him to sleep. So I was never setting Noah down awake but drowsy. I would completely get him to sleep, set him down, and leave the room. And there were some nights I was in there for like an hour or 2 hours. And I won't lie and say that that's easy, but that's just what it is, because I was not going to set him down and have him cry. Yeah,
that's like that's the trade-off a lot of times. Yes. And it's like you have to just choose what's more important to you. And I think when you're coming from co-sleeping, what's probably more important to you is that attachment and connection with your child. And so it's not going to just be an overnight thing. It's going to take a lot of work and practice, and it's new for the both of you. But even to this day, like Sunny's 3.5 and she still wants somebody laying with her until she falls asleep. So Chase and I take turns on I still rock her to sleep every single night. That's what we decided we want to do. And we're like also fully aware that someday she's going to be like, get out of my room, I'm fine.
When Noah turned 4, we had that transition because we were still in his room scratching his back, like just cuddling with him until he would fall asleep. But right around when he turned 4, he would put on, he started wearing an eye mask. So he would put on his little eye mask and he would cover up and he would say, "Good night, guys." And we were like, "Wait, what? What do you mean good night? What do you mean? What is this? Good night."
Yeah.
And he did. He just literally said good night. And we like, okay, let's just try walking out, see what happens. And he just closed his eyes and freaking went to sleep, and it blew our mind.
Yeah.
But that's what he did. And now I can't tell you, there's been multiple occasions where Noah's downstairs. I'm cleaning up for dinner. He's like, "I'm just going to go to bed, Mom." I'm like, "Let me just brush your teeth real quick." And then he just goes and lays down.
Yeah.
And I still go in there, I read his books, I scratch his back. But there have been multiple nights where he just goes, lays down and goes to sleep, which just like people told me that wouldn't happen.
Right.
And that it's just all, it's lies.
Yeah.
So it's developmental. 4 years is what it took Noah to be able to do that. Now Lily, I don't think we're going to do that the same thing. I think and I don't know yet, but I'm imagining what we're going to have to do is get a floor bed in our room.
Yeah.
So that
we did that with Sunny as well.
Yeah. Just so that
we like started with her on a floor bed in our room. I forgot to mention that. I'm sorry. Like, I feel like there's like while we were doing this, I was also feel like I was going through the worst time of my life, losing babies. And like, I just remember feeling like, okay, I know that I need to do this eventually, but we didn't end up fully like, I forgot to mention that she didn't fully go into her own room till we brought Ledger home from the hospital.
I was going to say, this is new to me that she stays in there.
She co-slept all throughout our pregnancy. And then now, like, she literally, when we brought Ledger home from the hospital, she decided she was just going to sleep through the night in her own bed. And it was like, this is horrible. You know, you like think that that's like going to be relieving, but it was just a lot of change at once for us. And so there were nights that I was like, "Are you sure you want to just, I'll sleep in here. Like, Ledger's in your bed." And I would like sit at the foot of her bed after she'd fall asleep, and I just admire her face and just like miss her so much.
That was
and
so hard for
now
me
the only
too.
snuggles I really get, like I said, I rock her to sleep, and Chase does a lot of her bedtime stuff, and then she comes in between 4 and 6 every morning and snuggles for a couple hours, which I live for that. But there's nights like this morning she slept till 9:30. I was well awake before she ever got out of bed, and I sat and stared at her for like an hour. I'm like, when are you gonna wake up?
Come on, let's go. Bessie,
And so we like, but when I was pregnant and we were trying to do that, I was just so aware of the fact that this was ending that I was like, you know what? We totally regressed, right? I was like, sleep in bed with me all night. I don't care.
Yeah.
So it just ebbs and flows. But like, she did start off on a floor bed in our room, and then we put the floor bed in her room, and she figured it out. She's fine. And nothing was like traumatic for either of us.
I will say, after I had Lily, I had a hard. So if you're listening to this, obviously you're trying to get one of your children into their own bed, which I'm happy for you. That's a journey. It's going to be fun. It's developmental. It can be frustrating. Just write it and it'll be fine one day, I promise. But if you're not done having children, I think be prepared for at least in my case, the guilt that came with going into Noah's room. I still have, that's going to make me cry, but going into his room and saying goodnight, and then the rest of us are in my room.
Yes.
Oh, it just makes me so sad.
The whole family is in one bed, and then they're just in their own bed by themselves.
I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it. We actually used to walk Honey up in his room because I'm like, what if he wakes up and like we're all together? Like it makes me feel so guilty. So every night since Lily's been born, I go into Noah's room at like 11 o'clock at night, and I spend like 45 minutes in there, and I just like pray over him and talk to him in his sleep, and like just look at him and cuddle him, because I'm like,
that's what I do with Sunny too. I think it really hit me. Like I've always loved to admire her while she was asleep, because it's the only time that they're still right in front of you, right? And I just remember like that was one of the sweetest parts of co-sleeping of our journey with Sunny and I, is like, "Hi buddy." He's like, "Talk about me, Mom." Was that like she nursed overnight for the 22 months, but then she still co-slept until like we brought Ledger home. And I felt like there was something so sweet about transitioning from when they're nursing. We weaned her at 2 years, and she's 3 years old when Ledger was born, right? So there's a whole year of time where she wasn't nursing, but she was still in our bed. And there's something so sweet about when they just want to snuggle you, and they're not there for the milk, they're just there for snuggles. And now like I there's a lot of guilt when she does crawl into bed, and she always says, "Mom, I'm going to snuggle your back," because my back is where Ledger's not. You know, I'm curled over into Ledger. Yeah. And so she just snuggles against my back, and she plays with my hair, and I just like sometimes I'm like, "I'm really sorry. Like, I'm sorry you're snuggling my back." But then I also am like, I know that you had 3 years of like all my snuggles.
Yes,
No,
that's
none of
so
my other
true.
kids will get that.
I know.
And I hope that she always feels like she can come in, but there have been times where she's like, I'll just stay in my room, or I'll just go, she can tell that like
Yeah.
I'm very fixated on, getting him to sleep or nursing him. And it is really sad. It like breaks my heart. And I've had those same thoughts. I'm like, all of us are stacked into one bed here, even the dogs, and then you're just in your own bed over there.
No, it's heartbreaking. And then the other thing that I think about all the time, which maybe I shouldn't even say, maybe I'll cut it out, but like he doesn't even remember us co-sleeping.
I know.
And even like all the nights I rocked him to sleep.
I know.
He stopped needing that when he was like 4. How many memories do you have from when you were 3?
Well, my mom, her dad died when she was 5, and she says that all the time. She's like, I don't remember him.
Yeah.
Like and that was 5 years of a present father being invested in my life, and I know him through photos and through stories, and I kind of remember like a presence about like, but I don't, and it's so crazy. But Jason and I, when we were moving into our new house, I think I've already told you this, we looked into like Alaskan king beds, because that was a point, what you just said has been on my heart so much. I'm like, why does she have to sleep in her own room? And then, like Chase and I, we do fine. Neither of us are like, get the kids out of the bed. And so I think that has been like, well, why? I remember one night we were told by some friends, and we're first time parents. Sunny's like 3 or 4 months old. And they're like, oh yeah, you have to like train your baby how to sleep. And we truly had no idea about sleep training. You're like just thrown into parenthood. You don't really know all the things. And we're like, oh, like, how do you do that? And they're like, oh, you just put them in their own room. And then they just like, they figure it out. One night, Chase and I put Sunny in her room, and she's probably like maybe a little older than Ledger. And we're sitting there, and she's just hysterical for like 2 minutes. And we're looking at each other. We're like,
no,
this does not feel right. Like, he's like, I'm going to go get her. He's like, screw this. He went and got her, you nurse her. She falls right asleep. But, I don't know. Co-sleeping is just such a sweet part of like the journey of motherhood for me. And I just hope that all my babies are like up for that. But there's some babies that like just straight up don't want to co-sleep, Yeah. So I feel like that's kind of.
Or some babies who would try to crawl into you every single night. If she could go back into my womb, I think she would.
Oh yeah.
Which I love that about her. I do. And I never thought about like night weaning and still letting her be in bed. Maybe we'll try that when she's a year, because I know she's
I think
not
they're more content because they're not like they're literally just there for the contact, and that is there regardless. But the milk is like,
yeah, man. Anyways, I was gonna say something. I lost something that I did, because I always have that same thing where like, I'm scared he's not going to remember how close we were, which is a dumb thing, because you build, even though your babies might not have the memories, you built that secure attachment, which they will have forever. Yeah. Forever, ever. So as long as you don't break it.
And then you can just tell them about it for the rest of their lives.
And that's what I was going to say. So I have this leather bound notebook, and I have been, because I write to my kids multiple times a day, usually. And unless like, we're really busy, but I have notebooks all over the house. I have like 2 in here. I have some in my bedroom. I have some in Lily's room, some in Noah's room, some in the hutch downstairs, in the school room. Like, they're literally littering my house. And I'll just pick them up and I'll write to my kids. And something I did this year was I got them each like a leather bound notebook, and I'm writing all of the things I've written to them into their own books. And I have so many things to Noah about co-sleeping in there. So like, if you're concerned about it, maybe just write about it and put it somewhere where they can read it later, and take pictures. So many pictures.
And I love that. Like, I think it was a reel, maybe it was a post, and it went all over Instagram, and it was like, my kids might not remember this, but I will. Yes. And I think that that's so special too, because like when we talked about last night in our last episode, last night for us, about like living life and parenting kind of through the lens of your future self, and like, what are you going to regret? What are you not going to regret? I think it's like a beautiful thing that we can like rest easy in someday, to be like, we did the hard thing. Co-sleeping's the hard thing, and we did the hard thing for the sake of the attachment, for the sake of soaking up all those extra memories. And you get like, you're spending 24/7 with your baby instead of, 12 hours away every day or whatever it is. And, I think that that's really special too, to like treasure those memories in your heart, and to know like, we did that. And that was it's going to be such a vapor in the wind when we look back on our life. What we actually, the time we actually had kids in our bed is going to be so few and far between. And
it's their childhood, yes, but it's your motherhood is exactly what you were just saying. Oh, I was going to say something else and now I forget. I was too wrapped up in what you're saying.
Sorry.
It was good. No, it was good. I'm glad you said that.
I just like, I've thought about that too. I'm like, wow, sometimes you feel like you're kind of like laboring in vain, and I'm putting that in quotation marks, but like
It's not.
sometimes you feel like you're tilling and toiling and like building these souls, and then you're like, but will they ever know? And that can be a really hard thing to wrestle with. But if we can just treasure those things in our heart and be like, well, we know what we put into this. We know the intentionality and all the thoughts and the memories. And, we know we did the hard thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're losing sleep so that you can spend extra time with her and let her know that she's close to you, and that you're, it's something that like you're always going to know that you did, and she's honestly, going to feel the fruit of that, whether she remembers it or not.
And honestly, I never wake up angry. You know what I mean? It's not frustrating. Whereas when I was fighting co-sleeping with Noah and he just wanted to be close to me when he was 4 months old, I would be so frustrated because I'm like, I just put you down. I just spent an hour with you and I just put you down and I fell asleep 30 minutes ago and now I'm awake again. And I would feel anger, not at him, just at the situation. But with Lily, I'm not like...
Well, you had like an inner turmoil because you were like, I know what I want to do.
I know.
Someone's telling me to do this.
The
and
world
like,
is telling me to do
that's such
different.
a cognitive dissonance. Like that's going to be so frustrating. But like,
And when it comes to transitioning your baby out of co-sleeping into their own room, you know them best. I don't think it's not that I don't think it's smart. I don't know if it's the best option to like be asking your pediatrician about this.
No.
Because pediatricians, no matter how good they are, they tend to be kind of one size fits all. They see a lot of kids, right?
They have a lot of liability.
They do. I would say your intuition is your best tool. Always. I don't care what subject we're talking about. Your intuition is your best tool. So if you're feeling like it's time, then it's time. If you're feeling like it's not, then it's not. If you're reading a book about transitioning and it doesn't feel right, then it's not. Like
it's not overcomplicated. Like even all the decisions that led up to you deciding to co-sleep, like you're probably like very intuitive already.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, I'm having like all these random thoughts right now, but I was going to say, do you remember that one thing that was like written all over Instagram, a different separate thing that said, this is hard and this is hard, choose your hard. Like this is hard and this is hard, choose your hard. And it's like, being unhealthy and being healthier, they're both hard, choose your hard.
Being married.
And yes. And it was like, I just kind of thought about that just now of like, sleep training is hard. Yes. Co-sleeping is hard.
Yes.
Choose your hard. Yes. Like transitioning out of co-sleeping and sleep train, they're both hard. Like don't let anybody that has sleep trained their kids tell you that you're going to have a harder time teaching your co-sleeping baby to sleep independently, because they did something hard too.
Yeah.
It's all hard. Yeah. Like most kids are going to want to be attached to you for a long period of time. So separating that at any point in time is going to be hard. Yeah. Choose what hard you want. Is it listening to your kid cry, or is it like, gently coaxing them and helping them and allowing them to figure it out?
Yeah.
It's going to take a long time, but they will.
It's not like easy. Yeah. I don't want to like tell a story and make you think that things are easy, because it's not. Yeah. It's definitely tricky. It's definitely hard.
And it's okay to backtrack. It's okay to be like, oh, you know what? I am way too tired to do this tonight. Like, let's go
in bed.
Or they're sick, or you're sick, or,
Babies are just not one size fits all.
Right.
Don't treat them that way.
I can hold Amanda.
He said, we're just about wrapping up anyways. What else was I going to say? Oh, and so for some resources, like I used, her brand is Sleep by Rochelle. It's RACHELLE, Sleep by Rochelle. She has recently posted a few things that are like saying co-sleeping's not safe. So I don't really recommend her very much anymore, because that kind of like made me feel ick.
Oh, weird. Yeah.
Yeah. But we do have someone new that I really like, and I talk with her a lot.
She's the best.
Her name is Katie. She's the Not So Tired Toddler on her Instagram handle. She co-sleeps with all of her kids, but she helps moms do exactly what we're talking about now, transition their babies out of co-sleeping. And although I've never paid for her services because I haven't been there yet since I've met her, I do know she's very reasonably priced, and she is just so sweet, so non-judgmental, so like just wanting to help people. This is her passion. Yeah. So we hired somebody with Noah, and I thought it was amazing. Honestly, it was a pretty seamless transition for us. So if that's something you can afford, I would say definitely do it.
So you wouldn't recommend who you use, or
not that I wouldn't recommend her, because she talked to me about co-sleeping, and I think she thinks it's great, but I think that either whoever is running her Instagram, or maybe she's doing it for Instagram, and she made some posts about co-sleeping. I don't know. The last thing that I will say, what was it? I had it in my head and I just lost it. The last thing that I will say, oh my gosh, you wouldn't know that I got sleep last night because my brain still isn't operating. Oh, Noah did have a regression at 18 months, and we had to redo this all over again.
Yeah.
So we've had to do this twice with him. But we have the tools now, or not that he's going to need it at 4, but we had the tools to just go back and do it ourselves.
Yeah.
So like, again, sleep is developmental. They're going to come in and out of their ability to sleep. That's totally normal. And just do the best you can and just try to be patient and hold your expectations so loosely. Yeah. So loosely.
And just, you know, if you've been co-sleeping since birth, try to remember too that this is the first time your child is learning to be separate from you.
Yeah.
So they're growing up in your womb, and then they're attached to you, and you're co-sleeping, and you're nursing, and you're rocking, and you're holding, and you're wearing them. And now we're asking them to sleep without us. And that is by no means a bad thing to do, but just to have some empathy and compassion for the fact that they're just learning something new. And it takes a long time. I think it takes like 40 days on average to learn a new habit. So just like give them some grace, you know. They'll probably figure it out before 40 days, but
have an awesome audiobook. That's what I did. So that I wouldn't feel those frustrated feelings like, I just want to go downstairs with Brady. No, I'm going to pop in my bomb audiobook. I'm going to sit in bed with you. We're going to chill and have fun till you fall asleep.
Just like own it that it's going to be a journey.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys.
And you will sleep again.
You will. I promise. I feel like I'm in that right now where I'm reminding myself this is so temporary. I'm going to sleep again.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine.
But it's still hard.
I mean, it's not as bad as I feel like I felt it was with Noah before we co-slept. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm fine. All right. We are going to be asking you guys questions about this episode. Well, we're going to put a question box up and we want you to ask us your questions. Anything related to co-sleeping, transitioning out of co-sleeping, resources for like help.
We kind of just like honestly skimmed the surface. I feel like we could do a whole TED talk on co-sleeping and the transition. So please ask all your questions. I know we just skimmed the surface. So ask us anything. Give us your specific like circumstances and we can speak into it as much as he keeps clicking because he's not in a good.
Well, and this dress is kind of like a so-so. Jesse and I have the same dress on, just in different colors. So
and it's like fun. By no means a nursing dress, but we're like, you can kind of get your boob out of there if you try hard enough.
All right. We will see you guys next week.
That was our fastest episode ever.